What Hamilton handed over to Ferrari wasn't just a technical document, it was a power map. The cameras never showed it, but between Silverstone and Spa, Lewis Hamilton walked into a closed-door Ferrari meeting with a folder under his arm. Inside, not race notes, not setup tweaks, but a detailed 2026 development blueprint that, according to insiders, Charles Leclerc never even saw. While the headlines in Hungary were about Hamilton's Q2 exit and Leclerc's pole, the real story was unfolding away from the track. Juan Pablo Montoya's warning, "Life will get harder for Leclerc," suddenly sounded less like speculation and more like a coded prediction. This wasn't just Hamilton giving feedback. The 2026 blueprint Hamilton carried into those closed meetings wasn't some casual feedback sheet. It was a structural manifesto. Active aero deployment maps, hybrid power distribution strategies, revised suspension geometry, altered pedal box positioning, even steering feedback curves tailored to his driving instincts. This is not a mid-season tweak. It's the DNA of the next era of Ferrari embedded in technical drawings and simulator targets. Leclerc, smiling under the media lights, insisted he's definitely involved in development. But involvement is not influence. Involvement doesn't get you unscheduled briefings with the head of chassis. It doesn't put your initials on the cover of a confidential performance roadmap. It doesn't give you veto power over gearbox ratios. Hamilton now has both the ear of the factory and the paper trail to prove it. And as Montoya hinted, for Leclerc, the toughest laps are still ahead. The folder Hamilton brought to Maranello was more than just paper. It was a statement of intent. Sources inside describe it as a driver's dossier, the kind usually drafted by technical directors, not the man in the cockpit. It outlined precise weight distribution targets for the smaller, lighter 2026 chassis, recommendations for aero balance under the new active wing rules, and a demand for a steering column with adjustable feedback profiles to match his feel and corner entry. Even the proposed brake migration maps were tuned to Hamilton's aggressive front axle loading into slow corners. These weren't vague suggestions scribbled after a debrief. They were CAD-level specifications, matched to simulator data and wind tunnel curves. Engineers present said Hamilton spoke with unusual authority, referencing airflow separation points, cooling efficiency margins, and CFD pressure plots as if he had studied them for months. One insider summed it up bluntly. That meeting wasn't about the car we have, it was about the car Charles will be forced to adapt to whether he likes it or not. The message was clear. The 2026 Ferrari will be born wearing Hamilton's fingerprints. If the meeting itself was bold, what followed was louder in its absence. No official Ferrari statement mentioned Hamilton's 2026 dossier. No smiling social media post from Maranello hinted at a united vision between their two-star drivers. Instead, the blueprint stayed buried, discussed only in hushed tones among senior engineers and passed discreetly between departments. Leclerc, when asked directly if he feared being left out, laughed and insisted he was definitely involved. But the phrasing betrayed the reality. He admitted he wasn't creating documents, relying instead on verbal feedback during visits to the factory. That's the old system, reactive, transient, and easy to dismiss. Hamilton's approach was proactive, permanent, and in writing. And in the politics of Formula One, paper isn't just power, it's precedent. A printed plan can be archived, circulated, and cited months later when design arguments erupt. A casual conversation fades by the next race weekend. One Ferrari insider described the aftermath bluntly. Silence here doesn't mean nothing happened. It means something big happened, and we're not ready for the fallout. In the power corridors of Maranello, that silence was deafening. Juan Pablo Montoya has never been shy about calling out uncomfortable truths, and this time he didn't hold back. Speaking to Colombian media, he warned that Leclerc's life will get harder now that Hamilton isn't just staying in F1, but embedding himself into Ferrari's technical DNA. To Montoya, this isn't about 42 points in the standings or a Q2 elimination in Hungary. It's about momentum inside the factory walls. Hamilton's blueprint isn't just influencing design meetings, it's redirecting them. Montoya highlighted that when a driver of Hamilton's caliber invests huge effort and gets the engineering department truly listening, the car will inevitably bend to his needs. And once that happens, Leclerc will be racing in a machine subtly but fundamentally optimized for someone else's style. That's not speculation, it's a documented pattern in Formula One history, from Schumacher at Ferrari to Alonso at Renault. Montoya's warning wasn't about a bad weekend, it was a forecast for the seasons ahead. a quiet power shift already in motion, with Leclerc in danger of losing influence before he even realizes it. Inside Ferrari's simulator suites, the contrast between Hamilton's and Leclerc's approaches is already visible. Engineers describe Hamilton's sessions as exhaustive, hours spent fine-tuning ride height tolerances, adjusting aero balance for transient corner phases, and pushing for steering feedback maps that let him attack apexes with surgical precision. He'll request multiple tire degradation models, test extreme brake migration settings, and compare CFD flow visualizations against live telemetry to validate his instincts. Leclerc, by contrast, prefers a more fluid, reactive style, relying on natural car control and adapting to the balance given rather than micromanaging every input. Under stable regulations, these philosophies can coexist. But 2026 is no normal reset. Smaller, lighter cars, a 50-50 hybrid split, no DRS, narrower tires. The setup DNA will be baked in from day one, and if the chassis is born around Hamilton's data, Leclerc could face a machine that resists his rhythm. The danger isn't only lap time, it's optics. In Formula One, the driver most at one with the car becomes the de facto development leader. That's how influence snowballs, and right now, that snowball is rolling downhill in Hamilton's direction. What's unfolding at Ferrari isn't just about engineering, it's politics in its purest form. In Formula One, influence is currency, and Hamilton is spending it with precision. Those private meetings with senior staff, the delivery of a detailed 2026 dossier, the ability to speak in technical terms that resonate with designers, all of it positions him not just as a driver, but as an architect of Ferrari's future. Leclerc still has the speed, still has the points advantage, but inside Maranello's glass offices, results on paper matter less than shaping the DNA of the next car. The engineers tasked with delivering Ferrari's 2026 weapon will remember who gave them the clearest blueprint, who addressed their design frustrations, who arrived with solutions instead of post-race complaints. Over time, these small wins in the meeting room build a gravitational pull, loyalty shift, often invisibly at first, until one voice becomes the default authority. The danger for Leclerc is that by the time he realizes the center of power has moved, the team will already be orbiting Hamilton's vision, and changing that trajectory will be harder than winning a world championship. The 2025 season will end long before the real fight is decided. Every race, every debrief, every simulator session now carries extra weight, not just for points, but for shaping Ferrari's identity in the 2026 era. Hamilton's blueprint is already circulating in departments Leclerc rarely steps into, influencing decisions months before the first bolt of the new chassis is tightened. Montoya's warning lingers in the air like a prophecy. The harder Hamilton pushes, the more the team bends. For Leclerc, the danger is subtle, but relentless. By the time the 2026 car hits the track, it could feel like a foreign language. And in Formula One, adapting late is often fatal to a title challenge. The silence from Maranello after Hamilton's private meeting wasn't an oversight, it was a tell. Something big is shifting. And when the first active aero flap moves in 2026, it may carry more than downforce. It may carry the signature of the man who designed the battle to win from the inside out.